Origins: Evidence for a Creation and Designed Universe. From Skepticism to a Rational Case for Creation. Written by Ralph Windsor. All rights reserved. Copyright 2025 and production copyright 2026. This book is dedicated to my father, Benjamin James Windsor. A note to listeners. This audiobook features AI-generated narration. Please note that while a synthetic voice is used to deliver the audio, the entirety of this work, including all complex concepts, scientific and philosophical analysis, data, and written content, is strictly the original creation and research of the author. The technology is utilized solely as a tool to bring these written words to life in an audio format. A note to the reader: what this book is not. Because this book investigates the evidence for a creation event, a natural assumption might arise. Is this a religious text in disguise? Is this a theological argument designed to lead to a specific faith? The answer is an absolute and definitive no. The author is not religious and does not subscribe to any faith-based traditions. This book carries no religious agenda, defends no traditional theology, and appeals to no spiritual dogma. It is written from a perspective that focuses strictly on what is verifiable and grounded in science. Across the chapters of this book, an array of distinct disciplines are examined, including the precise mathematical tuning of physical constants, the digital-like architecture of quantum reality, the complex information code of DNA, and the emergence of conscious awareness. When this book speaks of a creation event or a deliberate origin, it is not appealing to faith. Instead, it treats the underlying intelligence and science as a rational, data-driven hypothesis, one supported by the cumulative empirical weight of multiple scientific disciplines. You will find no theological pivots or hidden doctrines. The data stands on its own. The inquiry is strictly scientific, the analysis is philosophical, and the conclusion is left entirely to your own rational judgment. In the discourse of modern physics, it has been observed that we do not see nature as it actually exists, but rather nature exposed to our methods of perception. This fundamental truth, born out of the revolutionary insights of quantum mechanics, underpins this entire book. If we are to understand the true origin of the universe, we must ensure our methods of questioning are guided strictly by raw data and empirical evidence. Introduction. For most of my life, I believed that the cosmos arose through blind natural forces alone. I dismissed the idea of a created universe because I closely tied it to religious mythology. However, after years of study, I realized that was a mistake. When looking only at the evidence, one can recognize that the universe bears the unmistakable marks of intentional design without believing in a supernatural deity. My shift in perspective was driven entirely by data. I remain completely non-religious, but the evidence has convinced me that a creation event occurred, a rational hypothesis built on structure, logic, and code. In this book, I use the words creation and creator differently than you might expect. To be clear, my shift in perspective was not based on any religious faith. In fact, I believe religious doctrine obstructs a clear understanding of the data. Throughout history, religious narratives have provided supernatural explanations for our origins. Today, however, the idea of intentional design need not rely on religious belief. This book will neither preach nor proselytize. I consider myself a scientific creationist, someone who, after an objective examination of the evidence to determine whether a creation event occurred, believes there was such an event. I see substantial evidence supporting that conclusion, which has motivated the writing of these chapters. I explore the evidence that the universe was deliberately formed, based on reason and observable facts. The purpose, meaning, and methodology of this creation are currently unknown and remain open to interpretation. However, the fact of creation, based on the evidence, should be beyond doubt to any open-minded reader. In the final chapter, I offer my personal reflections on creation and explore the simulation hypothesis as a speculative framework rather than a definitive explanation. This perspective represents how I currently think about these questions, while acknowledging that we cannot be certain about what and how creation took place. I examine what a simulation, if true, might suggest about existence, meaning, and humanity's place in the universe. We must ask, if our reality is an engineered construct, what does that imply about the programmer or the intent behind the code? For the most part, my intended audience is those who do not believe in creation. I understand that viewpoint well. For decades, I saw the universe as a product of chance. But the deeper I explored, the more I found myself questioning that view. This book presents the case that the universe shows signs of design, an argument built not on mere belief, but on logic and empirical discovery. While readers with religious faith may find parallels here, it invites you to set aside any religious assumptions and re-examine the origins of existence from a fresh perspective. Atheist skepticism toward any concept of a creation is understandable because it is so closely tied to religion. Religion has long offered stories of divine intervention, some inspiring, others contradictory or implausible. When those explanations conflict with empirical evidence or serve as vehicles for fear, moral control, or exclusion, it is natural to question them, and, by extension, to reject the idea of creation altogether. Yet dismissing any religious doctrine does not require dismissing the idea of intentional design. The flaws of human religious institutions do not negate the possibility that the universe was created with intention. Indeed, one can be critical of religion and still open to the idea that the cosmos may bear marks of intelligence. If the universe was designed, the clues should be embedded in the structure of reality itself, not hidden in ancient texts, but revealed through the progress of science. My own journey began with some childhood religious belief, but quickly shifted to disbelief. Raised with religious ideas, I eventually rejected them. I saw no compelling reason to accept the existence of a divine being. However, the idea of an intentional origin, not in a mythical sense, but as a rational hypothesis, became increasingly compelling. I found it difficult to accept that the universe, with all its complexity and precision, was simply a cosmic accident, devoid of guidance or purpose. Science has illuminated vast realities that were once the exclusive domain of faith. While our understanding of physics, biology, and the cosmos has expanded exponentially over the past century, these discoveries have not undermined the case for design. Instead, they point to a level of complexity, balance, and order that cannot be brushed aside as pure randomness. Religion merely provided humanity's earliest frameworks for existence, but science now gives us the tools to examine the underlying mechanisms. Paradoxically, the deeper science looks, the more it reveals the exact, improbable precision of the universe's architecture. The elegance of life is often cited as evidence of evolution, and rightly so. Evolutionary processes are well supported by mountains of evidence from many independent fields. Biological evolution is a fact. We observe evolution even today, in real time, especially in microorganisms that rapidly adapt and evolve into new strains. This dynamic adaptability is a testament to evolution and life's resilience. Yet the very mechanisms that drive evolution, mutation, selection, adaptation, are themselves deeply intricate. They unfold within the architecture of DNA, a molecule whose elegant structure encodes the instructions for all known life. These processes operate with remarkable precision, guided by biological systems of staggering complexity. Can such refined, tightly coordinated phenomena truly be the product of chance alone? Rather than refuting creation, evolution illuminates it. The very existence of such a robust, responsive system hints at an underlying architecture, something built to enable adaptation and survival. A framework that seems to have been anticipated. While evolution explains how life changes, it does not explain how life began. DNA, with its dense, information-rich structure, resembles computer code, ordered, purposeful, and exacting. It is not easy to dismiss it as a mere accident of chemistry. The presence of such intricate instructions within every cell suggests something beyond random assembly. Modern physics, too, has expanded our understanding of reality in astonishing ways. Quantum mechanics, relativity, and the structure of space-time reveal a universe far more mysterious and interconnected than previously imagined. These discoveries often defy intuition and suggest that reality is not mechanical alone, but deeply layered, even purposeful. The Big Bang provides strong support for a creation event. From a singularity came space, time, matter, and energy. But more compelling than the event itself is what followed: the fine-tuning of physical constants, gravity, electromagnetism, nuclear forces. These values had to fall within extremely narrow ranges for stars, planets, and life to emerge. Even minor variations would render the universe lifeless. Such precision is not easily explained by chance. It suggests deliberation, purpose. In chapters 2 to 6, we will examine the scientific evidence that supports the idea of a created universe. These discussions will rely on testable data, critical reasoning, and observable phenomena, not religious assertions or philosophical claims. A singularity with immense potential became a structured cosmos. But potential alone does not organize itself. Something had to spark the transformation from formless energy into coherent systems, from particles to galaxies, from atoms to organisms, from unconscious matter to minds capable of asking these questions. As you explore these ideas, I invite you to consider that our universe may not be the product of blind chance, but of purposeful creation. Einstein once said that a person exploring the mysteries of nature is like a child entering a vast library. The child sees the books, senses the order, but does not understand the language in which they are written. Still, the child knows someone must have written them. Our understanding is limited, but what we can observe is profound. And what we see points to more than myth. It points to something worth examining seriously. Before the event of a creation lies the idea of potential. Before the Big Bang, there wasn't nothingness. There was possibility. The universe's emergence wasn't merely an expansion, but a transformation. From potential into structure, from potential into reality. What force initiated that potential? What principle or intelligence enabled it? Where did this potential come from? These questions are still unanswered. By the time you reach the end of this book, my hope is that you'll find the case for creation compelling. Perhaps you'll begin to see the universe not as a cosmic accident, and with that may come the realization that we are part of something far greater and awe-inspiring than we could ever imagine. Enjoy.